Hello everyone, good afternoon. And as Jason said, this is Neelima. I'm a technical marketing engineer at Cisco. I'm glad to see all the network enthusiasts all together at one place. And I know you use different network devices in your day-to-day life. And at some point of time, I'm sure you might have wondered if how to manage the network configuration and operational data of multiple devices efficiently in a given maintenance window. So how to deal with it? And moreover, if you have multi-vendor devices in your field, then how will you deal with it? So don't worry about it. Here is one of the solutions for you to deal with it. So I'm here to give you an overview of network automation with Nornir and Napalm. So in this session, you're going to learn about what, why, and how about Napalm automation Python library and Nornir in automation framework. And also you're going to learn about how to execute Napalm APIs using Nornir framework. And finally, I'll give you a quick demo of a quick example how you can execute these APIs in the terminal. And I request everyone to listen to it carefully. I'm going to ask questions in between the presentation, so I want to see that enthusiasm in you while listening. Yes, cool. Okay, so are you all ready? Let's get started. Yes or no? I would like to hear from you. Yes. Awesome. I got awesome audience. Okay. So what is Napalm? It's a vendor-neutral Python library which provides a set of APIs that helps you to manage the network configuration and operational data. And it is expanded as network automation and programmability abstraction layer with multi-vendor support. So it is expanded as a programmability abstraction layer. That means it basically abstracts few APIs, and these abstracted APIs are implemented by the separate drivers, that is the different platform vendors. And it gives multi-vendor support, and those vendors are Cisco IOS XR, iOS, NXOS, JunoOS, Junos, and Arista EOS. So these are the core platforms supported by the core team of Napalm. And if you would like to learn more platforms supported by the community, please check out this link provided in the slide. So why should I use Napalm? So you might be having a question, why should I even use Napalm? I have vendor-specific or platform-specific automation tools. I have separate automation tools which I can use them to automate my specific platform. Why should I use Napalm? So let's consider you have thousands of each platforms in your field, and you're given a certain time limit to push the configuration on all these platforms. So what you're going to do, you have to assign different network engineers for different platforms, and these network engineers should understand about the specific automation tool available for that specific platform, install it, understand it, and then you have to push the configuration. So this is going to take more time and also going to take more time of the individuals. Instead, you can go and use Napalm, where you can just assign one network engineer where he can understand the overall working of the Napalm, the APIs in it, and install it and configure multiple operating network devices using this Napalm Python library. So why is it important? Well, it's free to use, so no. Who says no to free stuff, right? Okay, so, and it's open source project. That means you have the whole flexibility to do some changes in the code or to add some to do some enhancement based on your own requirement. And it has an active community with 90 contributors, 30 releases, and 40 to 100 commits. It provides the multi-vendor support as we have seen in the previous slide. And it's completely written in Python, and Python is very easy. So I don't have to say about it. So it's easy to install. You can just use pip Python package to install it. And once you install, you're good to go, and you can configure multiple operating systems, network devices in your field. So it has well-defined documentation, and you can reach out to the community anytime, or if you face any issues, you can always log the bugs. They actively support you. Well, how does it work? The whole idea behind Napalm is inheritance. So what is inheritance? Just like a child inherits few characteristics from their parents, similarly here Napalm has a parent class called base class. It defines few abstract API names, and it also defines the input arguments of the API and the output format. And these APIs, these base class, the parent class, is inherited by the child classes. And the child classes are nothing but the different drivers. Drivers are different platforms. So here you can see in this picture, you have iOS XR netconf driver, iOS XR driver. iOS XR uses NetMiko, iOS XR netconf uses NC client to connect to the devices. And you have Juno's driver, which uses NC client, and EOS driver, which uses HTTPS. So this is basically these child classes will inherit the parent class and implement the APIs according to their own platform. So here you can see the output of get facts. Facts is nothing but the main details about the device. So as it is inheriting from the base class, the output structure is going to be the same across the operating systems. As you can see here, there's output of get facts of iOS XR, and it shows it returns a dictionary with the key and value pair. Keys are going to be consistent across the operating systems, and values are going to be specific to the device. So here it returns the uptime of the device, the vendor, the platform of the device, the host name, FQDN, that is fully qualified domain name, OS version, the serial number, model of the device, and the interface list. Now let's understand the different APIs available in Napalm. Firstly, it has configuration data management. So it has these different functions or APIs called load, replace, candidate. Basically, you can load the configuration or you can replace the candidate configuration. So once you do that, you do the comparison between the candidate configuration and the running configuration. So once you're good with the comparison, you're good with the changes you have made, either you can commit the config or you can discard the config. So once you commit the config, for few platforms, there is a feature called confirm commit. So while doing commit config, you have to provide a revert time. So within this revert time, if you execute confirm commit, then your commit will be completed successfully. And if you doesn't do confirm commit, then it will roll back. And after commit completed also, you can always roll back the previous commit. So these are the different APIs for the operational data management. You can retrieve the device details through get facts. Get interfaces returns the interface information from the device. Interfaces counters, you can retrieve the interfaces counters. Interfaces IP, BGP config, BGP neighbors. You can also retrieve the BGP neighbors detail. You can get the output of route to the destination address. You can get SNMP information. You can get props config, props results, trace route. You can get the users, or you can get the whole configuration, either the candidate or the running configuration. You can also retrieve art table, NTP peers, NTP servers, NTP stats. You can retrieve LLDP neighbors detail, MAC address table, and environment of the device. You can use CLI to push the show commands and retrieve the results of the show commands. You can also retrieve the firewall policies, IPv6 neighbors table, network instances, optics information, and you can also ping to get the reachability of a destination address. Well, it has so many features, right? How to use this library. It's very simple. You can just install Napalm using the pip Python package and write a script to retrieve or load the data. Here is an example of how you can retrieve the interfaces information. So this is a very basic example, and it's Python, so you can write any huge code to execute it on different devices and return a lot of configuration information or load the information to the network device. So here what we're doing is we are importing get network driver function from the Napalm Python library. And to this get network driver, we have to provide the driver name. The driver name can be iOS XR netconf, iOS XR, iOS, NXOS, JuneOS, or EOS. So now, to this driver, we should provide the host details, the device information, host name, username, the password, and the port number. Now you have to open this device. When you call open function, it uses these credentials provided in the previous step to log into the device. And once you call get interfaces on this device, it executes get interfaces and retrieves the data and returns it in this format. So whatever driver name you provide, the result is going to be in the same format. Just the data of it is going to differ. So I hope you got a basic understanding about Napalm. Yes or no? Yes. So can someone expand Napalm? Anyone? Okay. Okay, it's network automation and programmability abstraction layer with multi-vendor support. Okay, cool. So now let's get started with Nornir. What is Nornir? It's a multi-threaded network automation framework that abstracts the inventory and task execution. It basically provides us the inventory management and also concurrency of the tasks. You can execute the tasks concurrently. So it's an open source project and completely written in Python. So it's easy to use, just like Napalm. So why should I use Nornir? It's again free to use. It has active community. It supports multi-vendor. and it's completely written in Python. It's easy to understand, and as it is open source, you can always add in code on top of it and enhance based on your own requirement. So it has 46 contributors, 24 releases, and 660 commits. Once you install, you can configure multiple devices. And most importantly, it is multi-threaded. So why is it important? As I said previously, as it is open sourced, you can develop features on top of it. It adds a lot of flexibility for you to add in features on top of it. And it reuses existing Python libraries like Netmiko, Napalm to connect and manage the devices. So it's completely written in Python, so it's easy to integrate with other Python frameworks, or it's easy to troubleshoot or debug the issues while you're executing Nornir. And the main features of Nornir is inventory management and concurrency. You can manage the host separately in an inventory, and also you can have the concurrency. You can basically execute the task concurrently. That way you can optimize the time taken to execute the task. So how does it work? It works with the collection of host details. We have to provide the host details in the inventory file, and then we can define the tasks to be executed on by this host. So when we have to define, and we can also define the configuration file. We'll get into those details in the next slide, what is config file or what is the inventory, host details, all those. And then what Nornir does is it combines everything together, the inventory, configuration file, and a Python file, and executes it in an efficient way. So how to use this Nornir framework? Firstly, just like Napalm, you have to install Nornir and install the Nornir plugin called Nornir Utilities. It basically provides the inventory functions, processes, and task plugins. Once you have all these installations, all these packages installed in your local machine, you can write a code to retrieve, configure, or validate the device data. So here are the inventory files you can see on the screen. You have host.yaml file, which contains the host information. So this is the structure of it. You have to follow the structure in order to provide the host information. And you can provide the group, that is, which platform is it? Is it iOS XR, iOS? As I'm using my test bed, so I've used these examples. JuneOS, EOS, anything you can use. And groups.yaml file contains the platform name, either different platforms. And defaults.yaml file contains the username and password of these host name. If you have a common username and password for all the hosts, then you can just create a defaults.yaml file. Else, you can provide the specific username and password in host.yaml file itself. In order to know the structure of these host.yaml file, groups.yaml file, or defaults.yaml file, you have to write this code. You can write this code where it imports hosts, groups, and defaults from Nornir core inventory, and you can print its schema, host.schema, group.schema, and defaults.schema. It returns the structure of these inventory files. Now we have learned about Nornir. So you're good with Nornir? Can I ask a question? So what are the main features of Nornir? Anyone? Sorry? Yes. Multi-threading is good. One more. Yes.
It's native Python, meaning that I can write not only my Python code, but I can also write tests.
Yes.
Which is something you can't do with Ansible.
Yes, that's right. And one more.
You don't have to use YAML.
We have to use YAML, right? Actually, the main features are concurrency, that is multi-threading, and inventory management. It's easy to manage your inventory. So let's see how to execute Napalm APIs using this Nornir framework. Why are we combining these two? Because Nornir framework optimizes the way how we can execute this task in an efficient manner. So that's why we are executing Napalm APIs using Nornir framework. Well, before executing it, there are a few prerequisites. Firstly, you have to install Nornir Napalm plugin. This is a plugin of Nornir, so you can use pip, the Python package, to install Nornir Napalm. And then, so basically, you can execute it using config file or without config file, but I'm providing you the example with config file. Let me give you an explanation of how it works with config file. So we should fill in the host YAML file with the host name, the IP address, and the groups which operating system it is. And you can just name the router 1, router 2, and provide the host name and its respective groups. And the groups detail will be provided in the groups.yaml file in this way. And then you have defaults.yaml with the username and password. If you have a common username and password for all the hosts in the host.yaml file. Then you have to create a config file. Basically, config files helps Nornir to know where these inventory files are available. And it also knows how to execute the tasks on these hosts. So here is the runner plugin. If you assign plugin as threaded, then it is going to use multi-threading to execute tasks on these hosts. Or if you assign it as serial, then it is going to execute the task in a serialized manner. And the main idea of Nornir is to use that multi-threading feature. So we are obviously going to use the threaded in the plugin. And in the options, you can provide the number of threads to be created in order to execute the task on the host. So here I have provided number of workers equal to 2. If you don't provide anything, it is going to be defaulted to 20 threads. If you provide a number, then that many number of threads will be created, and each thread will be assigned to each host to execute the tasks of that host. Then this is the main file. This is a Nornir main file. So what we do is we define the task here. So you can see I'm importing init Nornir function from the Nornir framework and importing the print result to print the resultant data that we retrieve from the device or load to the device, the resultant of it. So print result from the Nornir utilities, and we are importing napalm_get from Nornir Napalm. So when you, okay, let's go step by step. In the first step, we are initializing the Nornir, and we are providing the config.yaml file in it. Now, to this Nornir object, we are actually assigning a task, and task will be napalm get. So these are all the napalm tasks. It could be napalm get, napalm CLI, or napalm configure. So napalm get means you can get any getters. You can use any getters. If it is napalm CLI, then you can use all the show commands. If it is Napalm configured, then you can configure on that device. So you have provided getters as facts. You can also provide more getters like facts, interfaces, interface details. And then once you execute this, this Python file, it is going to use the configuration information, and accordingly it's going to execute on top of the provided host, and it will print the results in this way. So as you see, for the router 1, it has provided the facts, fact details, and for router 2, it has provided the fact details. So as it is multi-threaded, you get the results at a time. You're not going to get results one after the another, one router after another. So these are different Nornir Napalm plugins, which helps you to connect to the device and execute different tasks on your network devices, like Napalm CLI for show commands. You can get the resultant of the show commands, and Napalm configure to configure data into the devices. Napalm get is to retrieve the information, as we have seen all the operational data APIs in the Napalm slides. So we can use those APIs into this task. And Napalm ping is to ping and get the output of the reachability of the destination address. And you can also validate the configuration of the device with the config which you have in your local machine. And to learn more about the Nornir plugins, you can check out this link in this slide. Now let's check out the demo. I'm going to show you the same example here. So if you don't want to use, if you don't want to interrupt your local machine, you can just create a virtual environment, and then in that you can install all Nornir packages, and then you can write a code and execute it. So here I'm using the Python version as 3.8.5, and I have created a Nornir virtual environment. So I have entered into the virtual environment, and you can see these are all the Nornir packages I have installed in this virtual environment. Now I go into the code folder, and you have to create an inventory folder. In this inventory folder, you have to have these defaults.yaml, groups.yaml, and host.yaml files created. So this is how the host.yaml file looks like. You can provide the host details in this way, or you can see the router 3 information where it has host name, platform, and username and password. So you can provide in this way as well if you don't want to use the groups and pass default files. And then so this is the default file with the password. This is a config file which I've shown you in the slides. And so here I'm executing multiple tasks. You can also execute multiple tasks on the host. You have to just define a function, and in this function you can assign different tasks and provide the commands, either CLI, configure, or getters, and then you can execute it in the Nornir run. Once you execute it, as it is a Python file, You can just execute it like this, /python file. And this is how the result is going to look. So as the configuration has changed, it says configuration is changed true. That's because we have added a new interface loopback. So that's why it says the configuration has changed. So it returns the interfaces list and the configuration changes. So this is how it looks. You can always so I hope you know the summary. We have discussed about Napalm, Nornir, and how to execute Napalm APIs using Nornir framework. These are all the different resources. Please do check out. If you would like to start off with using Nornir Napalm, then please check out this blog. I have written it. It has step-by-step procedure on how to start off and execute different Napalm APIs using Nornir. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I think I'm done with my time. So if you have any questions, or I'm good. Okay, you can reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.